Hello, I'm Sanyukta, a cloud support engineer here at the AWS office in Northern Virginia. Today, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot AWS Lambda function invocation timeout errors. Let's get started. First, let's check if your Lambda function actually timed out. Open the Lambda console. In the navigation pane, choose Functions. Select your function and then choose the Monitor tab. Choose View CloudWatch Logs to open the function's log group details on the Amazon CloudWatch console. Choose Search All Log Streams and then enter timeout in the search box. Select Enter. Note the request IDs for the invocations that timed out so that you can retrieve their logs. Next, we will review the logs to identify what caused the timeout. Choose the log group and then select the log stream to open one of the timed out invocations. Review the logs for error messages or stack traces that might show the root cause. If the logs don't provide enough information, then you can temporarily increase the timeout and memory settings for your function. Open the Lambda console and then select your function. Choose the Configuration tab and then increase the timeout from the default 3 seconds to a higher value such as 10 seconds. You can also increase the memory allocation for more CPU power. Choose Save. Then redeploy your code to invoke the function again. You can also use AWS X-Ray to help you visualize and analyze the performance of your Lambda function, especially if it's integrated with other AWS services or external resources. To activate the X-ray tracing, open the Lambda console, then select your function, choose the Configuration tab, then choose the Monitoring and Operations tools. On the Additional Monitoring tools, choose Edit. Under CloudWatch Application Signals and AWS X-Ray, choose Enable for Lambda Services Traces. Finally, choose Save. After you turned on X-Ray, you can view end-to-end tracing data on the X-Ray console after you invoke your function. You can also use CloudWatch Lambda Insights to get system-level metrics for your function and collect diagnostic information. To turn on Lambda Insights, choose Edit on Additional Monitoring Tools panel. Then turn on Enhanced Monitoring under CloudWatch Lambda Insights. Then select Save. If your function accesses resources within a virtual private cloud, VPC, then you can use Amazon VPC Flow Logs to identify networking issues that might be causing timeouts. Open the Amazon VPC console. In the navigation pane, choose your VPCs and then select the VPC where your Lambda resides. Choose Actions and then choose Create Flow Log. Select your flow log settings. Choose the destination log group. Select your service role and then choose Create Flow Log. To prevent future timeouts, make sure that your Lambda function code can gracefully handle retries and duplicated requests. To avoid overhead on every invocation, perform static initialization logic such as importing libraries and setting up connections outside of the main function handler. If you have used an AWS SDK to make an API call and the call fails, then your function might need more time to initialize than what the default AWS SDK settings provide. To resolve this issue, increase the retry count and timeout settings on the AWS SDK so that there is enough time for your function to initialize. You can also configure provision concurrency to keep a pool of initialized execution environments ready to immediately respond to invocations. To configure provision concurrency, select your function on the Lambda console. Choose the Configuration tab and then select Concurrency and Recursion Detection and configure the desired number of provision concurrency and click Save. Make sure that your function has enough allocated CPU and memory based on its workload. You can increase the values on the Configuration tab. And finally, check for service quotas or timeouts from integrated AWS services such as Amazon API Gateway that might be causing issues. So now you know how to troubleshoot Lambda function invocation timeout errors. Thanks for watching and happy cloud computing from all of us here at AWS.